Hi everyone. It's Wednesday, it's 5 o'clock. So, as I love to do, I want to bring you some information from Supermums and how we can support and help you through your Salesforce career journey. Now, this week's session is all going to be about end users. I wanted to talk to you about a few tips and tricks that might help and support you. And where I'm normally talking about the back end stuff, and we're talking about how we can help you progress in your career by learning Salesforce administrating. This time, I'd just like to talk to you. There are so many of you contacting me that are end users that are working for organizations and would like some tips and tricks. So I said, do you know what? I'm going to do a session on this because it might help and support a few people. Now, whilst I know that a lot of you will say, Lynn, come on, we know all this stuff. I'm just hoping that you might glean a little nugget from this, and there might be something that might help you. If there's not, then, please reach out to me again, and I'd be delighted to share more tips and tricks with you. So again, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I'm assuming that if you're watching today, you at least occasionally use Salesforce, whether it's every single day in your daily job, or whether it's something that you touch on, if you're a consultant, for example, then any interaction you have as an end user in Salesforce, I'm hoping that this will help and give you a little bit of information. If not, if not lots, then hopefully, like I say, you'll glean something from this. So, because today, I just wanted to not be technical. I know that a lot of people that work in end user Salesforce, for example, again, close to my heart. I previously worked for an organization where I would help and support other Salesforce end users. If they had any problems, they used to ring me and say, Lynn, can you work this out? And obviously, that is why that's so close to my heart. The passion of being an end user and being able to support other people has always been really dear to my heart. So I just thought I would just bring this to you today. If you would like to send me a DM, if you want to pop something in the chat below, you've got any questions or anything I can support you with, or anything Supermums, excuse me, can support you with, then please let us know. So today is not about being technical, like I say. It's about becoming smarter, faster, and more confident as an end user. So, as I say, what I wanted to do was say a few things that, to be quite honest, I probably wish someone had shared with me when I first started out using Salesforce. And again, it depends on where you are in this journey. If you've been using it for 5 years, this may not be useful. But if you're brand new, then hopefully this will be give you some enthusiasm and inspiration. So, and here's something that I wish someone had told me when I started. You'll hear me talk about buckets, collections of data. Again, I'm going to go into it in a bit more detail. But something that when I started out, no one actually said this to me, and I just thought it might be useful. To unlock something, you might need to change something somewhere else. Now, honestly, that's not just Salesforce, is it? That's in life. I mean, if you want to walk through a door, you've got to open it first. Please open it first. I think it's worth thinking about. I mean, probably not a very good analogy, but it's worth thinking about. If something's not working, it might be that you need to change it somewhere else to make it work. It might sound really simple, it might sound really obvious, but surprisingly, easily missed. When you're in the middle of something, you're in the middle of your day, and you find that there's something that just doesn't appear to be working. Hopefully, I'm hoping that we can give you a couple of tips along the way. So today, I'm going to give you some key terms that people might throw around without explaining what they mean. Again, this is just touching on, the monster that Salesforce is. I say monster, I mean as in large. So I just wanted to just give you, a few key terms that you may have heard bandied around the office, and you might be like, I don't really know what that means. I mean, obviously, nowadays you can chat GPT it, of course. But I'm going to just give you some information. So I'm also going to give you some tips that will save you time immediately. And like I say to you, these tips may resonate, they may not. But I'm just hoping that, along this session, you might get at least one aha moment that might completely change things for you. So let's just get into it. So first of all, the terminology side of it that I just mentioned. This is something that I want to talk about in terms of Salesforce language and translated to human, if that makes sense. So what is an object? An object is just a bucket, as I mentioned before, of information. The object will be accounts, which are companies, contacts, which are people, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit on that in a minute. Opportunities, so closed won opportunities are deals. So think of this as a folder on your computer. Now, if you are old school like me, another potential way of looking at this is, remember when we used to have filing cabinets in offices? I mean, I'm taking you back a little bit here, but you've got your big grey filing cabinet. You can picture that. You used to open a drawer, and in there was the drop files, I think they called them, where you had a big green file and you probably put on the front of it with a little sticky label, if you were anything like me, the name of what was in the folder. So those folders are objects. They are the folder of the information. So your folder could be your account, it could be your contact, it could be your opportunity, or it could be your leads. Now, that is one more object that I want to talk about. Think about it like this. And again, if you're brand new and this is a bit confusing, which it can be to start with, a lead is someone that might become a customer or a contact. So again, I know that different people have their Salesforce customized in different ways. But in principle, if you think about a lead is someone that maybe hasn't yet been qualified. So again, if you want to just think about it like a lead is a potential, a contact is a known person. So a qualified person, if that makes sense. At Supermums, we do use it slightly different. They don't become a contact until they are a closed won opportunity. But in principle, a lead is someone that you maybe meet at an event. So you walk into an event, you see someone across the room and you want to talk to them. They've maybe got a nice t-shirt on that, resonates with something that somebody you want to talk to. So look at them and you go, there's one of my leads. So you meet them at this event. You've got their details, so you don't really know much about them. You don't know if they're serious about having a conversation with you or working with you. You don't know if they're even the right fit. And you don't know, is there actually a deal here? But what happens next is once you qualify them, so you've already got their information, so you know maybe their name, perhaps their phone number, their email address, but you qualify them and then you convert the lead into a contact. And this is where something in Salesforce is really powerful. It doesn't move the record. It creates the account, which is the company, a contact, which is the person that was your lead. Remember the person that you saw across the room in the event. And obviously an opportunity can then be created, which is the deal, which is the closed won opportunity. So a closed won opportunity would not be for a lead, because remember, they haven't yet been qualified. It would be a contact. I hope that makes sense. For those of you that, that think that is a really common confusion. It's where people do get caught out. It's where you think, I did have a lead. Now, where did that lead go? Where's it disappeared? It was there, but now it's gone. But it's the same person further along their journey. So they started as the lead, the person across the room who you knew nothing about. They then qualified. You found out that they were someone that was interested in your product. That lead is then a contact. So the lead and the contact are one in the same. They're just further along in the journey, as I say. So probably a key takeaway for that is a lead is unqualified people. Contacts are qualified people. Like I say, that's probably the best way to describe that. So what is a record? Again, something you'll hear thrown around the office. A record is one item inside your object, inside that bucket. So it could be one company, it could be one person, be that a lead or a contact, or it could be one deal, one opportunity. So what is a field? A field is just a box where data lives. So again, when you think about a field, it could be their name, it could be their email address, it could be the amount that they're spending or have spent. Nothing really scary. A field is a box, and again, we talk about boxes and buckets, and this is where I say about making sure that something else, and again, I'll talk to you about that in a minute, something else is changed somewhere else that will then trigger. Let me go into that in a little bit more detail. Let's just finish with this first. So the other thing to mention is page layout versus lightning page. And again, this is something that catches people out. A page layout is what you see, and a lightning page is how it looks. So if something looks wrong, it might not be exactly what you think. Let's look at related records. Again, this is where Salesforce becomes really powerful. Again, you hear me say that a lot. Everything is connected. Contacts link to accounts, and opportunities link to both. So if something's missing, as I already said, it might be somewhere else. As I said before, if you've got any questions or you want me to elaborate on it, then please just come and find me. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. But let's just talk about the good stuff and a few tips and tricks along the way. So let's start with, Let's start with search. Most users click and click and click, and they'll be looking for something, whatever that may be, but stop doing that. Use the search bar, because Salesforce is faster at finding things than you think. Now, again, what I would probably use as an analogy would be if you're looking for Joe Smith. If you put into the search bar Joe Smith, you may have numerous come up, that they're not necessarily duplicates. And again, I'll talk about duplicates in a second. But what I would do is not just look for Joe Smith. Maybe if you've got Joe's phone number, perhaps put that into the search bar. Or you might have his or her email address. So pop that into the search bar. So again, covering all eventualities to make sure that Joe Smith specifically might give you a long list of people. Whereas if you put in the phone number, it's only going to give you one. And again, you might think, okay, I'm going to put in +44, the country code, or I'm going to put in 0. Again, just try a few different ways, because what you want to make sure you do is check before you create anything, because creating anything does mean that you have a proper search first, because again, duplicates will create confusion. The confusion creates bad data, and bad data, we all know, creates bad decision. So it's really important to make sure that the duplicates aren't there. Of course, if they are there, you can merge duplicates. Interestingly, you can merge a lead with a lead. You can merge a contact with a contact, but you can't merge a lead with a contact. So again, you might have a process in place to cover that off. But if you can make sure that you always clearly search in the search bar first of all, then hopefully that won't happen. The only time that, again, it can happen is if you have a connection into Salesforce. If someone uses, for example, a different email address for a different inquiry, then it can come in as a different lead record. But again, you know, it's just about trying to make sure that you cover off everything you can to make sure that the data quality is good, because as I say, bad data can create a bad decision in various ways. So another tip for you is to use list views. So these are not just lists. The list views can become your pipeline. They can be your to-do list, your focus tool, because filters are your secret weapon. So if you've got a list that is all leads, for example, you can filter in or out the list that you want to see. Again, you can do it against products. You can do it against... I think the thing to think about is if you've got a list view, using filters and something to watch is sometimes if you look at a list view and you don't see exactly what you expect to see, double check your filter, because if your filter is filtering something out, that might be the reason you can't see it. But anyway, it's worth thinking about that. Something that is also worth saying, like I said right at the beginning, that thing where you go, if that's a word, where you go, okay, I'm not quite sure why this doesn't work. So just a really simple example, if you go into a closed won opportunity, so that's your sale, you then go to the payment record within your sale, and you look at the payment and you see it's in GBP, for example, and you go, hang on a minute, I want it in USD. So you go on the payment record itself and change from GBP to USD, and it doesn't work. So again, it's about thinking, okay, so where could this be that is triggering it within the payment record or whatever you may be in. So on this case, if you went to the opportunity itself, you would find the currency changer within there, and you change the currency, and then you can go and do it in your payment record. So again, it's about thinking outside the box a lot and thinking, you know, to update something, it doesn't mean that something's not working. There is a workaround. So it's just about finding where that workaround is. So how to log activities properly. So when you think about logging a call, logging an email, logging your tasks, they are telling the story and they're helping the rest of your team. They're helping your manager, and then most importantly, helping you. I mean, your future self will thank you genuinely if you do this correctly, because if it's not in Salesforce, it didn't happen. And if you pick the phone up for someone and you have a long conversation with them, if you don't log it correctly, when one of your colleagues comes to make the phone call, they can't see your notes in there. So you might be having a duplicate conversation with someone. They might be having a duplicate conversation, I should say, with someone that you've already spoken to. Something else to mention is reports. So when your manager or yourself, absolutely, I use reports every day, go to pull a report on something, unless the data's correct, then again, bad data is going to make bad decisions. So it's really important for you to log activities properly. So AI, you know, any session wouldn't be the same if I didn't include AI. So think about AI, think about Einstein, Copilot, automation, Agentforce, of course. And again, it depends on how much you're using AI at the moment. I have no idea how I lived my life before AI. It just makes decisions for me every single day. And if you're not using it, it can sound intimidating. I've spoken to people who say to me, Lynn, is it going to take jobs? Absolutely not. In my opinion, I think I love a world where human and AI is working together, because I think it's important to know that, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future? Nobody knows that, unless you've got a crystal ball, of course. But humans and AI work so well together. As I say, I mean, I would hate to go back to not having AI in my life, because it definitely saves me so much time and so much energy. But in reality, if you think that within Salesforce, it's helping you do things faster and smarter. So let's break it down and think of it in two levels. So if we go level one, AI, and how that can help you think. So this is what most people are already starting to see, is AI can summarize information. It can suggest next steps. It can highlight insights. So instead of figuring out everything from scratch, you've got a head start. So again, it's about thinking about working alongside and getting your insights, your next steps, your information from AI. But then if you think Agentforce is where everything is evolving. So Agentforce introduces AI agents that can actually take action. So instead of here's what you should or could do, it becomes, I've started doing this for you. I mean, how great is that? How great is that? I mean, think about that. You've got someone there that's telling you how to do it and someone that's doing it for you. I mean, come on. You've got to agree, that's great. That's a great situation to be. So a real simple comparison on that is AI helps you think, Agentforce helps you act, and in some circumstances will act for you. Why does this matter? So this isn't, as I said, it's not about replacing you. I know that we have no idea what's going to happen in the future. I don't think anyone has any idea what's going to happen in the future. However, right now, sat here right now, this isn't about replacing you. It's about removing the bits of effort that slow you down. It means less time to figure things out, less time manually updating things. And we know how repeating tasks and manually updating things can be really time consuming in your day. It's about allowing you to focus on what actually really matters. And just keeping it real. I'm going to have a drink. Hang on a second. That's keeping it real. I was thirsty. So AI and Agentforce are only as good as your data. Something that I've said numerous times. It usually comes back to what was entered first, which links nicely take you back to what we said earlier. So to unlock more in Salesforce, you might need to change how you use what's already there. And sometimes that means letting the system help you a little bit more. If it feels hard, then, it might be wrong. If it takes maybe 10 clicks or 3 workarounds, there's probably a better way. So ask yourself the question, am I doing this right? Or is there a better way around it? And again, Salesforce is there to make your life easier. It's there to give you the insights and the information you need. So just ask yourself the question, is there an easier way of doing this? And there probably is. So thinking about, again, bringing that to life, if you like. I can't edit this field. So you try something and it won't let you do it. So you're trying to edit something, it won't let you do it. Instead of getting stuck, think, is it, as I said before, is it controlled somewhere else? Is it coming from another record? Or do I need permission? It might be that you don't have the right permission sets there. So again, Salesforce is connected, it's not broken. So it might be, there will be a reason why. So have a little bit of a think and see, if you can find a workaround. And then think about, I can't find my records. So, again, you panic slightly and you think, where's it gone? In reality, it's probably there. I mean, 99.9% it's there. It might be filtered out, as I mentioned before, or it could be named slightly differently. So always make sure that you search before you do anything, before you add anything or you check anything, just make sure that you search. Another scenario could be my data looks wrong. So let me give you a real common example of this. You open a report, we've all done it, and the numbers just don't look right. Maybe your pipeline, hopefully not, but maybe your pipeline looks lower than you expected it to. Or maybe a deal is showing at completely the wrong stage and your first thought is Salesforce is wrong. But we've all been there. Just dig a little bit deeper. Just have a look and see the opportunity stage. Has that been updated? The amount, was it entered correctly? The close date, is that still sat in last month? Again, it's all things that are, think a bit logical and think about what it could be, because Salesforce is actually doing exactly what it's supposed to do and it's showing what you entered. So it comes back to you need to make sure that you're entering things correctly for the reports to be correct. I mean, again, it's not rocket science. I think the key shift is Salesforce doesn't create bad data, it reflects it. So whatever data you've entered will be reflected in what you can see. So it means you're not stuck. You don't need to wait for IT. You don't need to raise a case or log a ticket. You can actually fix it yourself. Not always, of course. Like I say, it might be based around permissions. But a lot of the time, if you update the stage, you make sure that you enter the correct amount, you adjust the date instantly, you're gonna, your reports are going to improve, your dashboard is going to make more sense, and your team's going to make better decisions. So again, good data is going to lead to better decisions. So next time something looks wrong, instead of thinking, the system's broken, ask yourself, what's the data telling me and can I fix it? Because more often than not, you have more control than you think. So just worth thinking about that. There are lots and lots of tips. And I think you work this out the more you use Salesforce, especially as an end user. So, if you're using Salesforce on a daily basis, every day is a school day. So, sometimes you'll be doing something, you'll be like, oh my goodness, I didn't realise that it did it like that. And once you've learnt it, you know it. Like riding a bike, really, isn't it? Once you've learnt something. So just keep learning and keep relevant and things are always changing, but just keep up to date with everything. So just want to bring everything together before I go. So today wasn't about features. It was just about confidence, because again, the more you know, the more confidence you have. Because great Salesforce users aren't always the most technical. In fact, a lot of times they're not. If you're working for a company selling properties, for example, your concentration is selling the properties, not updating the system. But you have to update the system. So, hopefully you are technical enough to be able to do that. And everything is click. You haven't got to rewrite the wheel or whatever they say. So when you think that if you understand how things connect, you ask better questions and you work with the system, remember to unlock anything, you must change something else somewhere first. Don't forget, I mentioned about the door, especially if it's a glass door. You maybe want to open it before you try and walk through it. But if you want to drop a message in the comments below, if you would like me to go through more tips and tricks for end user stuff, if you're interested in upskilling and you want to know more about how do I learn the back end of Salesforce, how do I learn and become a Salesforce administrator, for example, then come and find me, because I am genuinely always here and I am always happy to help. However you are planning to go ahead with your career, whether it's as an end user and you're always going to be an end user, or if you're planning to want more information on become a consultant, for example, then just come and find me and I'd be delighted to help you. This has been recorded today, so if you're just joining, I see that there's a few people joined now. If anyone's got any specific questions, you're welcome to pop them in the chat. But if I don't see anything now, I will be checking the chat later. If you're interested in Salesforce admin, we do have a couple of programs coming up soon. So please reach out to me and I would be more than happy to answer you. Next week, I'm going to be here again live at 5. I'm going to be talking to you about our community champions, and I'm hoping that you won't just have to listen to me, because I'm hoping someone's going to join me next week. But as always, if you need anything from me, please come and find me. I'm always here, as I say, and I'm always happy to help you. So take care and thanks for watching.